Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. Today, our mission is to explore a really fascinating, almost shockingly concise set of source material.
It really is,
Right. It's this simple English survival guide, and it's designed specifically for delivery drivers working here in the US.
which is such a high stress
So,
environment.
absolutely. I mean, I want you to just imagine for a second that you're handed this massive stack of cardboard boxes, right?
Yep.
You get a steering wheel, a ticking clock, and you're dropped into a sprawling city where you barely speak a word of the local language.
It's basically a nightmare scenario for your nervous system.
Exactly. You don't have the luxury of time for poetry in that situation. You definitely
Right.
don't have the mental bandwidth for complex verb conjugation.
Right. You need pure, unadulterated survival. We so often view fluency as this vast, beautiful ocean of nuance that takes a lifetime to navigate.
Right, like trying to sound perfectly native.
Exactly. But this source material treats language as a wrench. It's a strictly mechanical tool engineered to accomplish a highly physical task under immense pressure.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before you can solve any delivery problem, you have to establish who you are. We begin with that very first point of contact.
The initial interaction.
Yeah, standing on a customer's porch,
Mhm.
the guide outlines these incredibly basic greetings, things like, hi, I have a delivery for you, or hello, your package is here.
Crip down to the absolute basics.
Right. And it immediately follows up with verifications like, is this the right address? Or are you John? It
Yeah.
reads less like a human interaction and more like, I don't know, a computer handshake protocol.
And that's a great way to put it.
You know what I mean? Like when two servers connect over the internet, one sends a ping that basically says, are you server X?
And the other replies, yes, I am server X, send the data.
Exactly. As a driver using this guide, you aren't really trying to have a deep conversation. You're just verifying the user's identity and pinging the destination.
What's fascinating here is how that prioritizes pure function over flourish. There is no complex grammar at play.
None at all.
It's just absolute subject-verb-object clarity. And doing that removes a massive amount of cognitive load for both the speaker and the listener.
That makes sense.
Right, because working memory has a hard cap. If you're an English learner navigating this stressful job, you're trying to process GPS directions.
Watch for traffic.
Exactly. Keep an eye out for stray dogs.
Yeah.
If you're simultaneously trying to conjugate a complex conditional tense, your brain hits a bottleneck.
It just shuts down.
Yeah.
But let me push back on that a little bit. Let's be real about the environment they're operating in.
Okay.
If a driver shoves a box toward me and just barks, are you John? My immediate reaction isn't going to be, oh, wow, what great cognitive load management.
Right. You're going to be a bit taken aback.
Yeah, my reaction is going to be defensive,
Right.
especially in the US, where there's this deeply ingrained expectation of like highly theatrical customer service.
The bubbly barista effect.
Yes. Consumers are conditioned to expect these deferential, super polite interactions. So, does being this incredibly brief run the risk of sounding rude to a customer?
Well, it forces us to redefine what respect looks like in different contexts.
How so?
We often conflate politeness with word count. We think more words means we're being nicer. But think about the specific dynamic of a home delivery.
Okay.
The customer is standing in their doorway, they're pausing their workday or their dinner simply to receive a commodity.
Right.
In that highly transactional micro moment, brevity actually becomes a profound form of respect. It's respect for the customer's time.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, the guide operates on the assumption that the customer desires the package far more than they desire a new social connection.
That's a really good point. I want you listening right now to think about how you feel when someone is completely direct with you. Do you find it refreshing or do you find it abrupt?
It's a fine line, but once contact is established, or at least attempted, the real challenge begins when things go off script.
Oh man, when the GPS fails, that's when we move from the standard protocol to troubleshooting.
The vulnerability in navigation.
Exactly. The phrases the guide uses when a location can't be found are super interesting. Things like, I can't find your address, or can you help me please?
Yeah.
And most importantly, it gives the phrase, I'm nearby, but I don't see your house.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of human psychology, admitting you're lost is incredibly difficult.
Oh, nobody likes doing it.
No, it threatens the ego. It feels like an admission of incompetence. But that specific phrase, I'm nearby but I don't see your house, is brilliant
Why is that the brilliant one?
because it establishes that effort has been made. It says, hey, proximity has been achieved before I'm asking you for a bailout.
Oh, that makes so much sense. It's kind of like playing an open world video game.
Okay, I'm tracking.
You know when you've reached the correct highlighted zone on the map, right? Like you're in the yellow circle.
Right, you're in the general area.
Yeah, but you just can't find the exact hidden item. You've done the work, but you're stuck. So you have to ask an NPC for a hint to trigger the next step.
That is exactly what's happening linguistically here. You're asking for a microscopic adjustment to complete the mission without sacrificing your professional dignity.
Think about that for a second. How often do you overcomplicate asking for directions in your own life?
Oh, constantly.
Right. When a simple, can you help me, would be so much more effective. We bury the request in all this context because we're embarrassed.
Exactly. But this guide gives the driver a sterile, effective tool to just cut right through that embarrassment,
But of course, asking for a course correction requires the customer to actually answer their phone.
which is a huge gamble these days.
Totally. So, what happens when the customer just isn't there to help? The conversation has to transition from an interactive dialogue to independent, decisive action.
Taking control of the logistics.
Right. The guide shifts from asking for instructions like, where should I leave the package? Or, do you have a gate code?
To acting when they're unavailable.
Yes, it gives phrases like, I will leave the package at the door. Your package is outside. And my personal favorite, I left it in a safe place.
This raises an important question about agency, because the language here goes through a dramatic shift.
From interrogative to declarative.
Exactly. It moves from asking permission to taking action. Mastering just a few of these declarative sentences empowers a beginner speaker to take absolute control of their environment.
They dictate the terms of reality.
Right. I left it in a safe place. Subject, verb, location, boom. The transaction is complete.
But I have to highlight that phrase, I left it in a safe place. Because, safe place is incredibly subjective.
Oh, highly subjective.
Right. How does a beginner navigate the ambiguity of what constitutes a safe place using only these basic linguistic tools?
It's tough.
Is behind a bush safe? Under a welcome mat? We've all seen those pictures online of a giant TV shoved under a tiny doormat.
It's hilarious, but it highlights the limits of a survival guide. The words safe place act as a container, but the driver has to fill that container with cultural deduction.
Yeah, and the language guide can't teach the nuanced sociology of American porch security.
No, it can't. But from a purely functional standpoint, the phrase achieves its goal. It closes the cognitive loop.
It signals to the customer that the contract of delivery has been fulfilled.
Exactly. To the best of the driver's judgment, anyway.
Right. But here's the thing. If the vocabulary we've discussed is so stripped down and direct, how does a driver maintain a positive customer experience?
Because it could easily sound hostile.
Exactly. The answer actually lies completely outside the words themselves.
The nonverbal cushion.
Yes. The guide has some small talk options like have a nice day or take care, but it emphasizes 4 crucial tips for success.
Which are?
Speak slowly, use short sentences, be polite, and smile when talking. Here's where it gets really interesting. The guide explicitly notes that these phrases, when combined with a smile, are literally, quote, enough for basic communication.
That is fascinating because what's happening there is that nonverbal cues, specifically smiling and pacing, are doing the heavy lifting.
Taking the place of the words.
Right. They do the work that complex adjectives and adverbs normally do for fluent speakers. It softens the directness of those declarative sentences.
It really does. And I was thinking about the speak slowly tip. It isn't just a trick to help the driver remember the English words.
No, it's physiological.
Exactly. Speaking slowly actually commands a calm pacing for the whole interaction. It helps de-escalate a potentially stressed customer who's been waiting all day for a package.
It's all about co-regulation. If a customer is dysregulated and anxious, a calm, slow pace forces their nervous system to match that rhythm.
That is wild. The driver is using the limitation of their vocabulary as a superpower to control the emotional temperature of the space.
It proves you don't need 1,000 words to de-escalate a situation.
So what does this all mean?
We've covered a lot of ground.
We really have. We've journeyed through the entire life cycle of a delivery, from that initial handshake protocol to troubleshooting when the GPS fails.
Taking decisive action with declarative sentences.
Right, and finally softening the exit with nonverbal cushions, and all of it using only the most essential linguistic building blocks.
It's a masterclass in efficiency.
It really is. And it leaves you with a final thought to mull over today.
I'm ready.
If delivery drivers can successfully navigate an entire workday solve complex logistical problems, and provide excellent customer service with just a handful of simple, direct sentences,
Yeah.
how much of our own daily complex vocabulary is just unnecessary filler?
Oh, wow. That's a great question.
Right. Could we all benefit from putting ourselves on a communication, quote unquote, word diet, even in our native languages?
Stripping away the ego protecting padding.
Exactly. Next time you write an email, try it out. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.